My wife and I have an interview with a man that I think you guys are going to love. He has a fantastic personal story, and he's taken it to the next level to help educate other people as far as how we've been waylaid in the information we've been taught about health in the past, and how a lot of the stuff we've been taught is not true. And we actually can start reversing diabetes and getting off medications and all kinds of other issues. So today I want to welcome Kerry Mann. So just to let you know who Kerry is, a thought-provoking podcaster behind Homestead. Kerry packed up his family of 6 to leave the hustle and bustle, trading big city life for peace and growth on the sprawling 20-acre slice of rural heaven. He owns a small-town movie theater, but has big plans to help the hopeless and change the world. As a driving force behind the documentary Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet, Kerry is passionate about changing lives, one health decision at a time. And I want you to introduce you to Kerry, and he can tell you about his documentary, Healing Humanity. We'll hear all about that and his personal journey. So, Kerry, thank you so much for being on here with us.
Oh, Dr. Steve, Teresa, I really appreciate you having me on here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So why don't you tell us what got you started in this whole thing? You just go back to the beginning.
Sure. Going back to the beginning, what really got me started was my personal health journey. I was sick for a very long time, and it started happening slowly. IBS, stomach issues, started to get arthritis, started to gain weight. One of the big issues for me was mental health. Started getting really bad anxiety and depression, and over the years it just snowballed and got worse and worse. Got put on some medications for the depression, for the anxiety, and then I started gaining weight. And as I started gaining weight, I started having more cascading health problems. My blood pressure went up. Depression seemed to get worse, and I had arthritis in my foot really bad. I had just, every time I would eat, my stomach would hurt. It started becoming a new normal. It just started to become something that I would expect. And I got put on medications for acid reflux. So one of the biggest issues for me was my mental health. Just worry about all sorts of things. And then I started getting depression, and that started getting worse. And they put me on medication for the depression, medication for the anxiety, medication for sleep. And then I started realizing I was having symptoms probably from those medications. One of the big symptoms was weight gain. I gained weight, and then I started noticing my blood pressure started going up, and I started having heart issues, and just this cascade of issues. Every time I would eat as well, I'd have stomach problems, just stomach pain and discomfort. And it became a new normal for me. It's just every time I eat, it's just, I guess that's just the way it feels. There's bloating and stomach issues and things like that. So I had multiple surgeries throughout my 30s and into my 40s. I had pain one day. It was just horrible pain. And it turned out I had a kidney stone, which was the worst pain of my entire life. About a year after that, I had similar pain. And I thought, oh, this is another kidney stone. I'm going to just have to suck it up because there's nothing you can do. Let this kidney stone pass. Turns out I ended up going to the emergency room. Just the pain just got so intense, I couldn't stand it anymore. And my appendix burst. It actually burst on the operating room table as they were ready to do surgery on me. It could have killed me if it would have happened at home. It turned into this big procedure. They had to clean it all out. And a couple of years after that, I continued having these stomach pains. I went to the doctor, had several tests. They said your gallbladder's a bit compromised, but the doctor was like, it's borderline. You could keep it, you could take it out. One of the biggest regrets I have, by the way, in retrospect, I'm like, take that thing out. I have such incredible pain all the time. Maybe this will be the relief, because nothing else worked for me. So lost my gallbladder, lost my appendix, all sorts of stomach issues, arthritis. I started snoring. I went in for sleep studies. They put me on a CPAP machine. I hated that machine. I was on that for about 10 years. And one of the biggest things besides the depression and anxiety, the depression just kept getting worse and worse. And it really, all of those other pains and sufferings and surgeries and kidney stones, all of that just paled in comparison to the depression, because there's no answer for it. It's just this dark cloud that follows you around all the time. Thankfully, my wife took me in.
I'm sorry, are you in your 30s at this time?
I was in my 30s, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's young.
Yep. Yeah. And the depression, it's hard to describe to people that don't experience. And or haven't been through it, a lot of times people, they mean well, they'll say, oh yeah, I get that way sometimes. You just need to go for a walk and it'll get better. But it's on a whole other level than that. It's like you look through life through this lens of everything is dark and negative and hopeless. And you have to put on this act for your family. My wife and I, we have triplets plus one. And my girls were young. And many years of my life, I feel like I was not a good dad. I was not there for them because I was just so hopelessly depressed. I couldn't barely get up off the couch. I didn't want to be in the world anymore. And the depression just kept getting worse and worse. Eventually, my wife took me in to get help for that. And they said, we can put you on this medication, but we're not going to know if it works. It's going to take 3 months before we know if this is going to work for you or not. And I'm like, I don't know if I can get through today, let alone 3 more months, but I had no choice. There's nothing else was working. And so they put me on this medication. I did it perfectly, diligently. I want to get rid of this depression. I want to be a good dad to my girls. I want to be a good husband to my wife. So I took that medication. 3 months into it, nothing. And I went back like, oh, it's okay. Just wait. We're just going to up the dosage a little bit. But you're going to have to give it another 3 months. It's not going to work right away. And I swear I did that for probably a year on the first antidepressant medication. And then after a year, they're like, this one's not going to work. We're going to try this next one now. And it's going to take 3 more months. And so for years, I always show people this. A lot of this was for my mental health, depression and anxiety and sleep. They just kept putting me on medications and messing with the dosages, but it never helped. It made me not care. So maybe it helped in that regard, but the best way to describe it is an emotionless zombie just going through the motions. And there's side effects from those things too.
Oh, yes. There are many, 50, 60, over 100 on every single medication. There's tons of adverse effects.
Yeah.
And didn't you have congestive heart failure also?
Yes. Yeah. So after the depression, all these things added up. That was the big thing. This was about, I'd say 7 years ago. I was at home. I was depressed. I was on the couch. I went to stand up and I got really dizzy and I couldn't find my words and I was confused. And my wife came over and she said, what is going on? My lip was drooping. She called 911. I went to the hospital. I spent 5 days in the stroke unit and they diagnosed me with a TIA mini stroke. And as a result of that, they're looking at all of this and all of my medical records and like, this guy's in his 30s now with all of these health issues. What is going on? Let's do every test we can. And they tested my heart and they determined I had congestive heart failure. My ejection fraction was 44. They said, yeah, you have congestive heart failure. And I'm like, Dr. Steve, I'm like, am I going to die? What does that mean? Heart failure. It feels like it's like a life sentence. I guess the definition is my heart couldn't keep up with the needs of my body, which I'm like, yeah, duh. I get that because I couldn't even stand up then. In my 30s, I'd stand up and I'd have to grab onto something. I'd get dizzy. And like I would go out, we live on a homestead. I'd be all gung-ho in the morning. Like, we're going to cut down some trees. We're going to cut some firewood. And I'd get 2 chainsaw cuts in and I'm just gasping for breath. And I fainted once. My wife had to call an ambulance and just horrible. And I've had an irregular heartbeat since birth. So I have an irregular heartbeat. I have a PFO, which is a small hole in my heart, and then was diagnosed with congestive heart failure in my 30s, which they put me on more medications for. I was on statins for about 8 years, multiple different medications for my heart as well.
Wow.
My
That is
gosh.
insane.
So what happened? What changed? Who told you that maybe it could be your nutrition? As crazy as that is, I tell people that and they're like, oh, yeah, right. This has nothing to do with food. This needs medicine.
I'll tell you this, not one of the doctors that I ever saw mentioned nutrition. Hey, this is maybe just the foods you're eating. And man, in retrospect, in particular for the mental health issues, if someone would have just said, hey, you could try this medication, but maybe nutrition, maybe I would have done both at that point, but just to have that as a tool in the toolbox. But the person I found this from, just don't want to get emotional, but he's my hero. He's the man, Dante Ferrigno. He runs a YouTube channel called Ferrigno Freedom.
Yeah.
And one day my wife and I were watching YouTube and his video popped up randomly. And he said he was at the beginning of his journey in this video. And he said, I'm just going to eat meat. I'm going to eat only meat. And I'm like, this guy's crazy. You can't just eat meat. You're going to, I have congestive heart failure. If I did that, I would have a heart attack and clog my arteries. I can't do that. But the interesting thing is, I had seen a documentary about 12, 15 years ago. It was called Fathead. It was on Netflix, and it was early. It was the first time I ever heard of a ketogenic diet, and it really moved me. It was an individual. It wasn't a doctor, and I'm like, this guy is dropping some truth bombs here, and what he's saying is making sense. And long story short, I tried keto years ago, and I had some good success. In fact, it was the only thing that ever touched my anxiety and touched my depression a little bit. But I didn't understand how it worked, and I would yo-yo. I would go in and out. I'd do a little bit of keto, and I was never sustaining myself. And I remember at one point I lost about 60 pounds, and I was feeling really good on keto. And I'm like, I'm never going to go back to that old way. And I think it was like 4 months later, I gained all the weight back. And for years, I went up and down yo-yoing. So, but long story short, when I saw Dante Ferrigno, I'm like, I understand this. He's just describing a strict ketogenic diet. And if a ketogenic diet is good, a stricter version must certainly be good. But there's no way you can't just eat meat. You're going to get bored. It's expensive. There's so many things. But I noticed Dante's video, watching this with my wife on the TV, his YouTube video. I noticed the video was 2 years old. And I said to my wife very cynically, I'm like, there's no way he's still eating meat. Let's go see his latest video. We went to the front of his YouTube channel, saw the latest video. I could not recognize Dante. Yeah. Looked like a completely transformed human. And yes, he lost weight. When we talk about carnivore.
Wasn't he like 700 pounds? Or is that the different guy?
That's somebody different.
Yeah, that was someone different. I think Dante lost maybe 80, 90 pounds.
Really?
Yeah. So, but everyone, when you hear carnivore, they're always thinking weight loss regimen. Yeah. For me, what was more impactful about Dante, the weight loss was impressive and incredible. He was literally glowing. And just his description, I'm no longer anxious. I feel so good. My inflammation went away. My IBS, my stomach issues, he was describing so many of the health issues I had. And so when I saw that, I was like, this is worth more investigation. And then I just continued to convince myself that carnivore is still crazy. I was basically trying to find a way to disprove it. I started watching a lot more videos. I found Dr. Ken Berry. Yeah. I watched probably every one of his videos. And the video that ultimately convinced me, it's interesting, it was a Dr. Berry video, how to reverse type 2 diabetes. Mm-hmm. And all of my ailments and issues, I am certain I was pre-diabetic, but that I've had so many diagnoses. And one of them, I never was diagnosed with diabetes or being pre-diabetic. But the reason that video caught my attention, because I watched all these Dr. Berry videos, I saw how to reverse type 2 diabetes. I'm like, I think I got him. This guy's a scam artist. This Dr. Berry's selling something. You can't reverse type 2 diabetes. I have multiple family members suffer with type 2 diabetes for all my life. I have an aunt. My whole life, she's had type 2 diabetes. That's genetic. Like, she's born with that. You can't reverse it. And then I watched the video. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something more to this. And what ultimately convinced me was reading the comments on Dr. Berry's video on how to reverse type 2 diabetes. There were 2,000 comments, and there were countless comments of people literally saying, Dr. Berry, you saved my life.
Yep.
And I'm like, what? Is he this scam artist? Is he like hiring fake people to leave comments too? I just kept trying to disprove everything I could, but that's what ultimately convinced me. And I said, you know what? I can't wrap my brain around eating only meat, but I can wrap my brain around doing a strict elimination diet for 30 days. I'm going to do only beef, butter, bacon, eggs. I'm going to not do seed oils and petroleum-based food dyes and science experiment processed garbage. I'm going to get rid of all of that. I could wrap my brain around carnivore better that way, but essentially what I was left with was a carnivore diet. And for me, I'm like, I'm going to do it for 30 days. On day 31, because there's no way this is going to be sustainable forever. On day 31, I'm going to go back to strict ketogenic diet and go from there. So that's kind of how I found it.
And I take it you did not go back to keto after 31 days.
No. And here I am. I'm approaching 1,200 days, and I haven't had a single fruit, vegetable. I've only had beef, butter, bacon, eggs, a little bit of chicken, fish here and there, but I haven't eaten off plan at all this entire time. It was just crazy.
And you started seeing results pretty quickly, right? What you start carnivore about how long did you start? What was the first thing that you noticed, and about how long was it into it before you started noticing it?
I stopped snoring almost immediately, which is It sounds so simple to me, but I was on this CPAP machine for like years. I hated that thing.
Yeah.
And I went in for sleep studies for this thing, and they would always have to, I'd revisit the doctor, they'd dial it in. And I remember my sleep doctor very specifically saying to me, listen, man, I'm going to be frank with you. You're way overweight. And I was, and my neck was huge. He's like, you're going to have to drop some pounds if you ever want to have a chance at stopping snoring. I didn't drop a single pound on carnivore the first week into carnivore, and I stopped snoring. My wife noticed it. I noticed it. I could even notice it on my readings on my CPAP machine because it'll monitor the amount of times the apneas I have throughout the night. That happened so quickly. I learned later, after going down the rabbit hole, a lot of people snore from inflammation. And that inflammation on carnivore goes away so quickly. But that had me so psyched because, long story short, my depression throughout the years, like I knew these cycles. When my anxiety would get bad, it was often tied to poor sleep. It's a lot deeper than that, but sleep plays a big part in it. And I would notice throughout the years, if I could get a real good night's sleep, which was few and far between, my depression, anxiety would be less. And I'm like, obviously, I'm having horrible night's sleep every day of my life for 10 years with this CPAP machine. If I've been able to improve my sleep just in a couple days on carnivore, that got me really excited. That was one of the first things. Some of the stomach issues started going away a couple of weeks into carnivore. And I remember in about 3 weeks, I had this whoa moment where I'm just like, not that the depression and anxiety were gone, but I'm like, I just feel so good 3 weeks into this. I had this lower back pain for 20, 30 years. I'm like, I lifted something weird decades ago. This is going to be here forever. It's a disc issue or something. It just went away. I'm like, what? This was completely unexpected. I didn't sign up for that. This pain I had in my elbow started going away. And all of this, most of this was just inflammation.
Just skin conditions? Do you have any skin conditions or anything?
I didn't have skin conditions other than I had huge bags under my eyes, like really like Tommy Lee Jones, like really bad. It was noticeable before that. It took a little while longer, but that cleared up as well. And I've had that like my entire adult life. It just kept getting worse. Yeah, those are some of the big things. The first month, I just felt so good. So my channel is Homestead How. My wife and I, we do homesteading videos. We've got goats and chickens and things like that. We've been doing that for 10 years. And on day 30, I'm like, I'm going to do one video because this is crazy how good I feel. I'm going to just do a carnivore update, 30 days on carnivore, how good I feel. I put that video on my homesteading YouTube channel and it just went crazy. And the thing that really touched me was I got so many comments like that Dr. Berry video of people saying, yeah, I overcame my depression from food. I overcame my anxiety from food, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disorders, all these health issues. People started commenting. I'm like, this is much larger than I ever realized.
Yep, it is. So once you started feeling great and you start hearing all these other people, what made you get that thought shift of, I'm going to do a documentary on this? What was that close in years, or was that taking a while, or
that was on day 67 of me being carnivore. I said, we're going to do a documentary. And part of it was when you go carnivore for the first time, I'll speak for myself, but I've interviewed so many carnivores now. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was firing on all cylinders. You get this crazy energy, and I was like, I can do anything now. Let's go. And so I've never done a documentary before, but I was seeing so much healing on YouTube. And I thought back to that Fathead documentary I saw on Netflix years earlier. That really impacted me. But I was on Netflix, and I'm like, we're just scratching the surface on YouTube. There's a lot of people that don't even watch YouTube. We need to get this message out there. How many other people are out there hopeless, like I was, hopelessly depressed or hopeless with type 2 diabetes or heart disease or whatever it may be? So I said on day 67, we should film a documentary. When I said that, though, I was just thinking, these stories are so powerful. I could film this thing on my phone. It's the stories that matter. But then shortly after that, I realized we've got an opportunity to really help a lot of people and reach potentially millions of people if we do this right. I would love to get this on Netflix or a big streaming service, but in order to have any chance at that or even getting it in a theater, you can't film it on a phone. You got to have a cinema grade camera, and you got to have professional lighting and audio and all of this stuff. So it went from a simple, how hard could that be? And it turned into, with the help of a lot of volunteers and people that just this amazing carnivore community that got behind us, into a much larger project.
Yeah, that's huge. Like you said, the carnivore community, keto and carnivore, all this. we just got opened up to this, like I said, about 4 or 5 years ago, and started going around and seeing all the conferences and seeing all the physicians and everybody, that it really is changing. It's changing people's minds. It seems like nothing's happening, but when you go around, all these conferences are getting bigger and bigger. And now with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. out there and doing, I think people are finally realizing how horrible our medical system and our food system really is. And I love that. And that this is coming out at a perfect time. Your documentary is. So you want to tell us about what the documentary is, and tell them when it's going to come out and where they can find it too?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so the documentary is called Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet. And the premise behind the documentary was, there's a lot of documentaries out there that get into the science of a ketogenic diet. There's some great ones out there too, by the way. But what I was really interested in was the personal story. That's what inspired me to do this. Dante Ferrigno inspired me to find healing. And I really think that is, how can we help as many people as possible? I don't think we can necessarily do it with science alone. I think it requires those personal stories. And that was the premise of the documentary. Let's follow around some real people that have various different health issues that are addressing it through diet and nutrition. They've already tried medication. They've tried the standard of care. They tried everything and it didn't work. And let's follow some of these people around for the course of a year. And so that's what we did. We ended up filming 60 interviews, 9 doctors and experts. We have 460 hours worth of footage all over the world. The first person we filmed was Bill in Alaska, who, this guy is incredible. He was 700 pounds, stuck in his house indoors in Alaska, hadn't been outdoors for 4 or 5 years. He saw my YouTube video, the 30-day video I did, and he was desperate. Obviously, if you're 700 pounds, you have a lot of health issues, but his biggest issue was just depression, just like I was. And so he's like, I want to do this. I want to start this. And we decided to film him for the course of a year. We filmed him on day 1. We waited a whole year, and we filmed him 1 year later on carnivore. And we did that for a couple of people. And then some of the other people we filmed, they had already documented their journey on YouTube or just personally through photographs and stuff like that we followed for the course of a year. And so we've got all sorts of stories in the documentary of different types of healing, whether it's just obesity or heart disease, depression. Depression's a big one as well. Autoimmune disorders, psoriasis, things like that.
Was there anybody that you came in contact that did not know about carnivore nutrition and you followed them from the time they first started into that? Was there anything like that on there? Or did everybody that you interviewed, had they already realized that nutrition was going to be the way?
Everyone that we interviewed already knew, but there's some that were just brand new to this whole thing. They had just heard about Bill in Alaska, for example. He'd heard about a keto diet years ago, didn't really know that much about carnivore, saw my 30-day video, reached out to us, and we started filming him right away. So he was pretty darn new to the whole idea of any of this other than his experience with keto before.
And so 1 year later, how much had he lost?
1 year into carnivore, he was down 260 pounds. But more important than that, for me anyways, because my passion and reason for doing this was mental health. The amount of changes I have seen that people that were hopelessly depressed or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia that are able to reverse it. And Bill had horrible depression. I remember about 3 weeks into his journey, he called me up and he was emotional. He was crying. First, he was like, how is this possible? I'm like, what, Bill? What? He's like, my knee pain and my lower back pain is completely gone. And I haven't lost any weight yet. I said, inflammation, Bill. It's all inflammation. People don't realize how bad that inflammation is. But he's also like, Kerry, for the first time in 15 years, I wanted to get up out of bed and just do something. I haven't had that in decades. And his mental health changes have just been incredible. So he was down 260 after 1 year. He's a big story in our documentary, Healing Humanity. And he's a big pain in my butt, too, because it's incredibly expensive to go out to Alaska and film. And this whole thing has been crowdfunded. And it's been the hardest thing to do this properly, but we can't keep up with Bill. He's now down, I think, 360. He's approaching 400 pounds down to the point where he's like, can you come back and film me again? I want to show this new version of me and the new version. We can't keep up with him.
Tell him to come to you.
Yeah. You know what would be exciting? So we just met at Meatstock, which was incredible. Like 1,600 people there. He's going to be coming to one of those events. And he started his own YouTube channel. He's inspiring so many people. They're like, Bill, if you can do this in Alaska at 700 pounds, meat is so expensive in Alaska. And he doesn't have family helping him. He's going solo, like all of those things. If you can do it, I can do it too. So he's inspired thousands of people all around the world. But I was saying to Bill, I was just talking to him, like, it'd be so cool to have you at one of these meetups.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then just surprise people. Hey, anyone? Because I go to these meetups all over the place. I always say to people, who's a fan of Bill Knott? Because everyone watches his YouTube channel. They always go nuts. Imagine I do that and be like, oh, bring him on out. Come on, Bill, walk out. It wasn't just that he was stuck in his house for 4 or 5 years. He was stuck in his bed. Other than being able to make the short trip to the toilet, he didn't leave his bed for like almost 5 years. And he's literally in Alaska fishing and riding his, he's got a mountain bike. That's been his big goal. And people got to stay tuned on his channel because he's got a new video coming up soon that involves that. I'll leave it at that, but it's crazy.
That is so cool. So he's outside for the first time. I couldn't even imagine what that'd be like for the first time he stepped out of his door in 5 years.
5 years. And that's a big part of the film. So we filmed him on day one. And then 1 year later, we went back and filmed him in Hatcher's Pass, Alaska, which I've been all over the world filming this. Hatcher's Pass, Alaska is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It's about a half an hour from his house. He hadn't been there in 20 years, let alone hardly been outside. We went there and we filmed his reaction there. It was one of the most beautiful moments in my life, seeing that, just incredible healing.
Yeah. What do people say to you when you say, now we know what people say to us, but what did they say to you when you say meat? Is it the same thing you thought? Like how strict it is and
how expensive it is
Yeah.
and how hard it is to get it and how do you get carbs? And I mean, everything that everybody,
fiber?
it's like they're almost fighting that they want to stay sick. It's like, why are you fighting this?
Yes. Oh, it's so difficult, especially when you have family or close loved ones that are sick and you're like, I have the answer without a doubt. I would bet my life on it in a second. I know what you need to do to find healing. Yeah. And they look for every excuse not to do it. I am so passionate about this. I'm filming the documentary and it used to really bother me. Like when you just want everyone to find this healing. We interviewed Dr. Sean Baker for our documentary. He's incredible. Orthopedic surgeon. And he gave me some really good advice. He said, Kerry, sometimes the best you can do is say your piece. Obviously, if people have questions, they want to talk about it, they want to fix them, then have those conversations. But sometimes the best thing you can do, Kerry, is live your best life and be the best example you can be. And he's like, you'll be surprised sometimes that will rub off more than actually using words and trying to convince someone. So I kind of take solace in that. And I've actually seen it happen to people in my extended family and community where I'm like, I never would have imagined these people would adopt a proper human diet, and they actually have. But yeah, it is so frustrating when people are sick. I think a big part of that is addiction. A lot of people, they get funny when you talk about addiction, but that was my problem. And that was why I failed on keto too, because I was trying to moderate my addiction to carbohydrates. And you can't overcome any addiction unless you're willing to admit in the first place that there's an addiction. It's a weird thing with food. If I was addicted to alcohol, my friends and family would be supportive. I'm addicted to food. You go to a family reunion, you're like, oh, come on, just have a cupcake with me. What's the big deal? And you don't get that support. So it's really hard. I think community is a big part of it. If you're trying to do this, getting involved in, even if it's just a local group or an online community or something, there's free groups out there, but having community, I think, is a big part of the success of eating a proper human diet.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, we didn't have any big weight loss or even inflammation or anything. I'm not saying that
personally,
we never did, but we just wanted, first we started out just eating whole food, which is what we really encourage people on our channel to start. Just quit eating the processed food. Don't go to the center aisles of the grocery store. Just eat the real food, God-made food. Start there, and then you can progress from there. Or even if you've done carnivore and you feel better, then if you want to introduce some things, then give that a try. Versus forever. This is forever and ever.
I love that advice. I always tell people, I get a hard time because I'm super strict on carnivore, but I tell people that's me. Like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm doing that because I was so sick. But also I feel optimal doing this. I've tested so many things, but my advice for people is always, if you're sick and suffering and you need healing, my biggest advice would be do a strict carnivore diet until you find healing. And then you can always, maybe I'll add some things back in, or maybe I'll go back to keto or something like that. But because this is a thing, there's a lot of people that are like, I've got this wrong with me, but they don't realize the extent of what's going on in their body. Many of us are walking around with fatty livers. We should be terrified of that. But the only thing we're concerned about is our basic lipid panel numbers, insulin resistance, inflammation throughout the body. Like, mitochondria dysfunctioning, visceral fat around the organs. There's so many things going on. And a lot of people, I think, myself included, don't realize that all these things are happening internally. I don't need to do a carnivore diet. I'm not really that sick.
Yeah. Or even people just feel bad and they just have for so long, they don't even know that they feel bad.
That is huge. That was one of the biggest things I learned interviewing so many people. It becomes your new normal. Like years and years of eating the standard American diet, or even eating just okay in the middle, you end up with brain fog, for example. You end up with fatigue. And you do that for years and decades. You wake up and you're fatigued and brain fog. That's your new lens. It's just like, that's normal. And it's not until that goes away that you're like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. I could see all the little leaves on the tree. Everything's so much more clear now.
Yeah.
Everyone I've interviewed, that's been one of the biggest patterns I've seen, is that brain fog. I thought I had brain fog before. I had no idea, because you can't see the fog while you're in the fog. You got to get out of it.
Exactly.
And we've seen the exact same thing. I'd say almost 100% of everybody that we've gotten off their medications and started reversing their diseases, the first thing within the first month, they have more clarity of thought and more energy. Yeah. That's the first two things they say is, and they may be down 10 or 20 pounds in the first month. Also, that happens quite a bit. But the extra energy and the brain fog is the first thing they talk about, which I never even thought about that, because I lost maybe 40 pounds, but compared to some of these people, that was nothing. And I wasn't doing it for weight either. I was doing it for health, because I found out exactly what this man-made food does inside your body versus what God-made food does inside your body. And it's just two totally different things. You're either giving your body the nutrients it needs, or you're giving it toxins, and it's one or the other. And obviously it's going to do horrible on toxins and better on nutrition, but you don't realize how much better.
Such a huge impact. I love movies. My wife and I run our little small town movie theater, and there's a quote, I think it's from Shawshank Redemption: "Get busy living or get busy dying." And I feel like that's what it's really. Before, I didn't really know it, but eating all that food, I was busy dying. I was on the couch, I was plunked down, I was fatigued, I was tired, and I was always doing the bare minimum. Now I'm just full of energy. And when you get rid of that brain fog, you start getting that energy. That is another pattern. I don't know if you two have noticed this with people you've worked with, but besides the brain fog going away, a really impactful pattern I've seen is this sense of gratitude. People are just like, first they always say, I feel like I'm 20 years younger. My energy's through the roof. But all of them have this sense of gratitude. I interviewed this one woman. She's like, I tear up looking at the sunrise in the morning. I didn't even notice the sunrise before this, but I'm just full of gratitude now. And it really makes you think that this is probably our default human state. Imagine if all of us were walking around with no brain fog. All of us are busy living, full of energy, feeling 20 years younger, and then just full of gratitude for everything. What an amazing world that would be. And I really believe, ancestrally speaking, that's probably how it used to be back in the day. We would hunt a big animal, we would feast, and we would fast until we'd find another meal. As babies, we're born into ketosis. And for most of our lives, I believe our ancestors were in this state that many of us are in, that are doing a proper human diet.
Yep.
Right. We're not starving all day long. And then we also, our phones, we're all looking at our phones. Yeah. And I think that also makes it to where we don't pay any attention to what's going on in our life or in our bodies. We're just busy doom scrolling, looking at our phones all the time, not paying any attention. You tend to ignore
it. Just like we've heard some of these, our larger clients talking about before they started losing all their weight, the things that they didn't realize how much they ignored, like just walking up to a store that has glass doors, and they noticed that they always looked away. They never wanted to see their reflection in the window. And I never thought about that. And that's the thing that I've noticed. People who do this that have been bad and they start getting healthy, and the pain goes away, the fog goes away, all that, they feel proud. They start feeling bad about or good about themselves. Because I think a lot of people seem like they just feel bad about themselves, like they're not worthy. And once they start doing this, they feel good about themselves, and it just starts spiraling up. And it's so fun to watch these people. I have goosebumps right now. I literally have goosebumps.
You're giving me some too. I've said that to people before, because I say to people watch my YouTube videos and they're like, Kerry, you inspired me. I'm no longer depressed anymore. This saved my life. And it's like, that's a crazy statement to hear. But I always tell them back, I'm like, you need to look in the mirror and be proud of yourself, because you did something most people won't do. Yeah. It's like a scary thing to do this. We're going against everything we've ever been told, kind of thing. But I've noticed that too. There's almost this they're too hard on themselves. It's like, give yourself some credit. And then that starts happening over time. I think we kind of pave some new neural pathways in our brain to, instead of default to the negative, to go to the positive instead.
So what do you have anything? Do you tell people that start into the excuses? Yeah, it's expensive to eat healthy. And what are you going to do? Just eat nothing but meat, have a plate with a piece of meat on it, and just all these silly things. Do you have anything that you tend to tell them, or because we're still trying to come up with one that'll get people understanding?
Yes. So I tell people, I really believe this is the truth. My grocery budget on carnivore is probably half of what it was before.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that's hard to understand because meat is expensive in the context of buying a steak with $300 worth of processed food and salad and side dishes. I go grocery shopping now. I don't have any sauces. I don't have any side dishes. I don't have any spices. It's funny. My wife and I were at the grocery store the other day and we saw a friend and they had a list and they were just doing this. And I just said to my wife, I'm like, I didn't even think about this. We don't do that anymore. It used to be the grocery store. You're going to ruin dinner if you don't have this side dish or this spice or this sauce. It's just meat. Yeah. And here's the difference that a lot of people, and I don't blame people because I thought the same thing going into this is going to be too expensive. When you eat a proper human diet, you eat ground beef or eggs. That's my primary food that I've been eating. Or if I'm lucky and have a big ribeye, a steak, you eat that and you're satiated and you're full and you're done. Most of my journey on carnivore, I was eating once or twice a day. In fact, right now I do one meal a day. Yeah. And it's a big meal, but it fills me up and I'm full. When I was doing the standard American diet or even eating clean keto, I would eat and a half an hour later, I'm hungry again. Half an hour later, I'm hungry again. So all of that goes away. Plus, when you do the true math and you realize, like on carnivore now, I don't get junk food from the gas station. I'm not getting fast food. I don't have dessert on the weekends. I'm not getting drinks with people on the weekend. You add all of those things up. And then the real math comes in. I don't have to pay for these anymore. Exactly. Or the co-visits or the insurance or just the gas to go back and forth and all the side effects of those. Yes. The last thing is, I could go on for this forever, but the last thing is this. I've interviewed so many people that do this, and whatever their success metric is in life, I swear, without a doubt, it like doubles. People, when you are eating a proper human diet, you get rid of that brain fog. You're able to make wiser, smarter decisions. Your life, in many ways, is a result of the decisions you make. And then when you have the energy to execute on those things, you're able to be more successful. We interviewed pastors Jimmy and Annette for our documentary, Healing Humanity, and they've been running this church for 20 years. After going carnivore for 1 year, their congregation doubled in size. They're not just up there preaching. They don't even preach. Right. They don't even talk about carnivore to them. Right. They have a separate, they keep that all separate, but their energy, everything, it's in their work. And I see that over and over again. So whatever your success metric is, it's like you're able to double the work and you almost have to, because you have this energy. You got to output the energy somewhere.
I know. I love it. And that's actually when we send people through our program, that's what we're talking about is it's not about exercise. You do not have to exercise. We firmly believe it. We do exercise all the time, but that has nothing to do with this. You'll know when it's time to exercise, especially these people, 700 pounds, 500 pounds, they're not exercising. And trying to explain to people that you could do all this just with your nutrition. Then when you start feeling that energy and that clarity, you'll know when it's time to start exercising because you've got to do something to burn up all that energy. And we've seen it happen over and over and again. Yeah. There's not too many things that you can say. Just like you said, I 100% believe in this and I will back that up. I'm the exact same way. Quit making excuses and start living your life.
That's one of the excuses we would get is, oh, I can't exercise. I don't have time to exercise. My knees hurt. My hips hurt. It's like, you don't have to.
Don't have the money. Don't have the knowledge. Don't have the weights.
All of my healing. So I'm down 100 pounds since my heaviest. I don't have IBS anymore. I don't have the CPAP machine anymore. I got off of all of that medication. And after 1 year on carnivore, I literally reversed my congestive heart failure. It's in my medical records. I've shared it multiple times on my YouTube channel because people don't believe it. That was a chronic thing. They told me my ejection fraction was 44. It's 65 now. I have no evidence of congestive heart failure or cardiomyopathy anymore. But all of that to say, none of that happened with exercise. I didn't exercise. Like I ate a proper human diet. And then exactly like you said, Dr. Steve, I started wanting to exercise for the first time in my life. I have this and I love it now. I exercise regularly, but it kills me now because I'll see people and I'm not judging them. I'm thinking of my former self. They're jogging and they're overweight. And I'm like, that used to be me. And what would I do when I was done with that jog? Oh, I burnt some calories. I deserve it now. I'm going to go have some fast food or something like that. And it's so simple. You just fix the nutrition, that weight will come off, and then you'll have the energy to exercise. But I hate that advice too, because I believe that advice before starting this, that I needed to exercise in order to lose this weight. And if you look at the math on a treadmill or whatever, the amount of calories, it's ridiculous. It's even, you have to run 100 miles to eat a little meal. It just doesn't even add up. It's just dumb.
And it's so crazy. Like I said, I've been doctor of pharmacy for 35 years, 12 years of school, 29 years at the same hospital. Never were we taught this type of nutrition. It was never actually healthy nutrition. And all these things, just like congestive heart failure, AFib, fatty liver disease, diabetes, all these things, chronic, progressive, irreversible, you're just going to have to learn to live with them. And we are seeing since, and I believe that all the way up till I did early retirement 4 years ago. And in these last 4 years, just like you, I have seen so many people, our own friends, people who are just doing what we asked them to do or told them to do. And they're off everything. And rheumatoid arthritis one, I never knew you could get rheumatoid arthritis, like I said, IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, all these things. And I'm seeing people reverse them all the time. And it's crazy that the hardest thing we have is trying to get people to quit listening to their physician. And I'm not saying don't listen to physicians. It's not their fault. And that's what I tell everybody. It is not their fault. They were trained the same way I was trained. We do not realize how brainwashed we're being all the way through school. We think this is the medical system. And my gosh, we know the latest, greatest. We know how to get people healthy. And once you find out, it's like, I will never go back. I've been helping so many people in the last 4 years that it's like, I'd be nuts to try to go back into the medical system. And
that's amazing. I love that you're helping so many people, because the thing with this that's so different that I've noticed that's powerful is, let's just say you help one person, Dr. Steve. That person's going to find incredible healing. They're going to be an example to their family and friends. And then that ripple effect. I've been trying to calculate the ripple effect of some of this. It's crazy because you don't see that with anything else. You don't see that with a plant-based diet or any other sort of intervention where you see the healing like this. One thing that, just back to your point about the doctors, I believe the doctors mean when they're here to heal people. It bothers me though that in retrospect, I'm like, I barely graduated high school and I was able to figure this out. And if you are becoming a doctor to heal people, and clearly you're not, you got to dig deeper. That's why I'm excited about the doctors we have in our documentary and what you're doing, because they've found a different way and they're doing it and they're actually healing people. And talk about a rewarding career. Like Dr. Tony Hampton in our documentary, he's getting people off their medication on a daily basis. He sees so many patients and they're healing, like they're getting their life back. I said to him, I'm like, Dr. Hampton, these people are so excited. They reversed their type 2 diabetes because of your advice. They're so excited in this moment. Little do they realize they're probably going to live decades longer because of your advice.
High, much better quality of life. As well.
Without inflammation, arthritis, and all of these things. We're dying. We get to 80 and we're happy. And all of the science points to the fact we should be living well into our 100s. The only reason we're not, chronic inflammation, insulin resistance from the foods we're eating. It's really simple. So I try to be nice to the doctors. But my hope with our documentary is twofold: inspire individuals, but also inspire this next generation of doctors. Here's 9 doctors and experts in our documentary that they're literally saving people's lives all over the world. And you could be doing this too, and that's what you signed up for. But if your only tool in your toolbox is this, you're not treating the root cause of the problem. They're not going to find healing. You're not going to find healing unless you treat the root cause.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, I believe that 100%. Yeah. And that's what we say, that those are the 3 columns of disease: is inflammation throughout the body, high insulin levels, and high blood glucose levels. Because once you have that, it's called type 2 diabetes, but that's not just a condition. That means you are having organ damage to every single organ in your body when you have those 3 things. And just like I said, and it all starts, stop the glucose. That's going to keep your glucose down. That's going to keep your insulin down. And when you quit eating the kind of food that brings that up, you're not going to be eating all the chemical laden stuff that brings all the inflammation on either. Yeah. And the carbohydrates and stuff too. It's like people just don't understand that the answer is so simple. It is, this can't be real. This can't be real. It's like, just stick with it.
It's funny too. They don't get it, but then when they do it, oftentimes they get mad. I've interviewed several people that have easily reverse their type 2 diabetes. And they're like, I was on this medication for 20 years. What is going, it was this easy? Just changing my diet. It's really is that easy.
And that's the deal. It's kind of been slowly getting that to me, but because what people, nobody's saying this, and I still don't understand why. They still aren't. Everybody always talk about how to get the blood glucose down. How do you get it down? How do you get it down? Nobody's talking about how you get it up in the first place, and it's because you eat it. That is the only reason your blood glucose goes up. So if you don't want a high blood glucose, quit eating it. I had a physician come to one of my talks one time. He'd been on insulin and a GLP-1 and 2 other diabetic medications. He'd been on these medications for 17 years. He came and listened to me talk. He stopped putting all carbohydrates in his mouth. He went carnivore, and in 1 month, he was off every one of his diabetic medications. Wow. He contacted me. He sent me an email. I said, I cannot believe this. You have changed my life. He went to his own doctor. His doctor's like, he has never seen his blood glucose that low. And all it was that he just quit eating it. And people, it's like, that's not going to reverse the diabetes, but that is what will reverse. Keep eating that way, and your diabetes will reverse. And as well as all this, the fatty livers, the inflammation, cardiac, all these things, just from that one thing. And once he said that, and I'd known how, because I've seen other people, but when it's actually coming from a physician, been over 17 years, in 1 month he was off of it, my mind was, okay. Now I know for a fact I can say this with 100% confidence. Quit eating it.
And Dr. Steve, is there any better feeling on the entire planet than to have someone say that to you? Like, your advice saved me.
This is an overall body health improvement thing and a quality of life. And once you see that in their eyes, it's, yes, you got it. Now go tell others.
Yeah, that's what happens too. I learned that with the documentary. There's almost this yearning when you find healing. I want everyone to know about this now. I wish someone would have told me earlier. So it was really hard doing the documentary at first, because I'm like, I'm not a documentary filmmaker. I'm learning this as I go. But then I started learning early on. So there's a yearning to get these stories out there because people want other people to find the healing that they found, which is a pretty awesome thing. But I just want to say one thing back to your earlier point. One thing that I've learned that drives me nuts is with type 2 diabetes, for example, a lot of times people are diagnosed. This is one nitpicky thing I have with doctors. When they tell someone you're type 2 diabetic, it's a fluke, it's genetics, we don't know, it's just you. That happens with type 2 diabetes, that happens with cancer, that happens with a lot of health issues. We just don't know, yet conveniently, we know which one of these to put you on. And the only answer when you give someone no hope like that is medication. And in almost every case, there is an answer. There's the root cause of it. But that's one thing I've witnessed doing this documentary that I've seen over and over again that's just criminal in my opinion, because you leave the person hopeless and the only alternative is the really expensive medication. I'm not saying maybe there's a place for medication, cancer, things like that, but people shouldn't be told that it's a genetic fluke. It's almost like victim blaming. Like, this is just you. There's something wrong with you. So therefore you got to go down this route. And then they end up going on these medications for decades and never addressing the root cause.
Yeah. And even cancer. People are reversing their cancer doing this too, because cancer lives off glucose. It's that same thing. It's like, we don't realize. In fact, I don't know if you knew this, but as far as diabetes medication, because if you're treating type 2 diabetes in the 1970s, they did know it was nutrition. That's how they taught you was nutrition. There was only like 7 different diabetic drugs before 1980. In the 1980s and 1990s, wasn't a single diabetic medication produced, because they said there weren't enough type 2 diabetics, and because they knew that they found that just by lowering the glucose, it didn't help anything. That was so all through the 80s and all through the 90s, 20 years, no diabetic medications. From 2025, they've come up with 25 new diabetic medications, about one every year. Because now what they found, because all diabetic medications, they all work by increasing insulin. They either stimulate your pancreas to produce more insulin, or they make your cells more sensitive to insulin. So in all cases, they're actually making diabetes worse. And we actually are making more and more type 2 diabetics. That one statistic just absolutely floored me. No diabetic medication for 20 years. And now we're doing about one every year, and we're getting more and more diabetics every year.
The more medications we have, the more diabetes we have. It's crazy.
Yes, without a doubt. Right. Yeah. You think that's a plan. And the A1C, they keep lowering the blood pressure, lowering what the normal A1C is. And the whole purpose is to get them on more medications. Let's get them on more medication. Let's lower this down. It's absolutely crazy. Even the fact that we're telling everybody prediabetes is an A1C of 5.7 to 6.4. Prediabetes is having high insulin levels and normal glucose levels. And the only way you're going to know that is to get an insulin level. But nobody does that. You ask your doctor for a fasting insulin level and they'll look at you like you're an idiot. It's like, that's the only way you're going to know if you're truly pre-diabetic is get an insulin level and get a glucose level. High insulin, normal glucose, that's pre-diabetes. If they're both high, that's diabetes. That's not this A1C stuff that they
Right.
use. Yeah, it's just.
There's so much with speaking of the medications, like the diabetes medications. The other one for me was much of this was I was on statins for years. And the amount of misleading that happens with statins, creative marketing. But when I went on statins, I remember, I think I saw a TV commercial or something for a statin, and it was something like 50% of people have a risk reduction from using the statin. It was, the number was like 50%. And long story short, I have subsequently learned that's what convinced me. I'm like, oh, that's huge. Reduce my odds of heart disease by 50%. That's what I was thinking. What it is, it's so simple. Roughly in the population, 2 out of 100 people will have heart disease. On a statin, 1 out of 100 will. So you go from 2 to 1, that's a 50% reduction.
Yep.
Yeah.
But in other words, if you were phrasing it honestly, 99 out of 100 people see no benefit from a statin. Only one does. Had they told me that, I wouldn't have went on these for 8 years. I had memory loss, and I don't know if it was from this, because here's the other thing with your pharmaceutical background. They test the statins or whatever test they do on medication, right? We test this. How can you possibly test the permutations of drug interactions between all of this medication? They don't. And they're just like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Yeah. Because the statin apparently is so powerful that we could take that risk when 1 out of 100 people see a benefit. It's just the marketing on those. I don't know how that's not false advertising, but had I been told the honest story, I never would have went on those statins in the first place. I would have simply went and got a CAC scan done, which I just did a year ago. It cost me $50 out of pocket. It took 10 minutes. And instead of saying your basic lipid panel, if your cholesterol is this, it's like a proxy to a precursor to maybe you'll have heart disease. Why don't we just look in the arteries for $50? That's what they did. I got a big fat 0. So
good deal. Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. CAC is a 0.
Yeah. I'm like, why didn't they tell me that earlier? You go in, anyone watching this now goes into their doctor. They'll do a basic lipid panel, and in almost every case, they're going to say, up too high, you got to go on a statin. And it's like, go get a CAC
they don't even know how to look at they don't even know how to look at a lipid panel. All they're taught is look at the LDL. Which when you get out in the nutrition information, you find out the true science. LDL is something you never look at. There's good LDLs, bad LDLs. Now we got to figure out how many of the bad LDLs you have, and that's your triglycerides and HDL.
Exactly. Plus, they have an advanced lipid panel, which will actually look at the quality of the cholesterol, like your particle size, which is more indicative. But the basic lipid panel is so junk. It's just put on a basic. I don't even think they care. It's just put on a basic lipid panel, statin automatically. It's like the number of people put on statins, like a lifelong drug. I was on that for 8 years. It's crazy. And the potential side effects, the risk reward, the interactions, there's so much.
And everybody thinks with these commercials, you have 4, 5, 6 little adverse effects that scroll across the bottom. That's all there is. Oh, no, there are 30, 50, over 100, blood pressure medicine over 100, 70. There's any drug you give me, I can tell you all the different adverse effects of them. And they are massive amounts. Like you said, when you put all these other drugs together and all their adverse effects, it's crazy. It's criminal, really.
Yeah.
Really
and then the long term too, which is really hard to measure. But some of these people are on medications for decades. How many years could they take off your life, or who knows what comes downstream from that?
Or they're just keeping you alive so you can live in a nursing home.
Yeah. In our documentary, I think Dr. Chafee said something like, that's the goal now, or Dr. Baker said this, it's the goal now is to just have everyone chronically sick so that we can have them on medications, because it's like a subscription. It's an ongoing recurring revenue versus if you actually fix someone, that's it. They're customer loss. And it sounds crazy, but it's true. I don't think there's some big evil person doing it, but when every incentive is only profit, that's what you end up with. And you end up with people on medications their entire lives, and they're never getting any better. And sadly, a lot of them end up having a much shorter life than they would have otherwise.
And again, lower quality. It's shorter, and then it's just life of.
And it affects your family's lives, your children's lives. If you're in a nursing home, what they have to do to help you.
Now your kids got to take care of you.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us more so we can wrap this up about Healing Humanity?
Yeah. So Healing Humanity, we premiered it at Meatstock, and June 6th, we're having it at Montello Theater and a whole bunch of other locations. It's going to be in movie theaters all over the world. you can go to healinghumanity.movie. On our homepage, there's a little button, click where to watch, and we're adding more and more dates there. There's also a second button if you want to host a screening. We have people all over the world that are raising their hands. They want to host a screening of Healing Humanity. You can also watch our trailer right there at healinghumanity.movie as well. And if you want to learn more about me, it's weird, but my YouTube channel is Homestead How.
Yeah.
Started out doing homestead videos, but all I've been doing for 3 years now, I haven't done a single homesteading video. It's
Really?
carnivore interviews. It's people that have found healing. It's videos about fixing your metabolic health and finding healing.
Yeah. Awesome.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
And did you say, are you going to try to get it on Netflix or something too? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, our goal is to get on one of the big streaming services. And how it works nowadays is you got to prove your worth first doing these screenings. And I think we're going to have a really good shot at it. Our community is incredible. We listed this at Montello Theater on June 6th. It's sold out in 48 hours. And people are dying to see this. People are sick of being sick, so they're excited to come out and watch it. So we're going to prove our worth. And then our goal is to get on one of those big streaming services.
Oh.
We would love to be able to figure this out. Is there something on there that tells you how to become a host?
Yep. On the homepage, if you click become a host, it's just, you're not committing to anything, but you fill out a form and then our team will get back to you.
Okay.
The form is basically saying, what's your location? Is there a movie theater nearby that you'd like to host it at? Things like that.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. That sounds great. We will definitely do what we can do to host you here. That'd be awesome.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for being on our show. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. You have a lot of information to give to people, and man, keep it up.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Dr. Steve and Teresa. It was great talking with you both. And I love what you guys are doing too. It's incredible. Helping people find healing. There's nothing better in the world.
That's right.
We agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so that's what we have for you guys now. I hope you go in, follow Kerry Mann,
Homestead How.
Yep. And please be ready to watch this documentary because it's going to be fantastic. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.